Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right. Yeah, the shoes are beginning to drop pertaining to Connor Stallions and all of his chicanery. And this video is going to get out a little bit late. Normally, I like to try to get it to mid or late afternoon. I'm going to be a little bit later than normal. Stuck at work. You folks know how it is.
Drink it up, big boss. All right, drink it up, gambler.
Anyway, let's get into this. Jim McElwain, who is a very famous coach. You know, he coached at Colorado State, then at Florida, won a couple of SEC East championships, and then wound up at Central Michigan. As you know, there's been a big scandal with the Michigan Wolverines, Connor Stallions, sign stealing, Jim Harbaugh, so on and so forth. Well, it turns out, we saw the picture of Connor Stallions on the sideline over at Central Michigan, allegedly. And, of course, the NCAA has accused them of all kinds of crap, the Michigan Wolverines. And, of course, they've been trying to figure out the deal with Central Michigan and why he was on their sidelines.
Before we go any farther, we've obviously are aware of a picture floating around with the sign stealer guy. Our people are doing everything they can to get to the bottom of it. We're totally unaware of it. I certainly don't condone it in any way, shape, or form. And, I do know that his name was on none of the passes that were let out. Now we just keep tracing it back and try to figure it out. But it's in good hands with our people. And again, there's no place in football for that.
All right, so yeah, you remember that, and we've been waiting for a long time to get to the bottom of it. We know there was a quarterback coach let go, but we don't know what the deal is with Jim McElwain because there's a lot that's been happening in the last 10 days, and I'll show you.
Michigan's head football coach is now the subject of an ongoing NCAA investigation involving Connor Stallions' appearances on the Chippewa sidelines last fall. So that's what sources told CBS Sports. The organization is trying to determine if Jim McElwain had a role in allowing Stallions, who is also at the center of an ongoing and separate investigation at U of M, on the sideline of the team's season opener against Michigan State.
2 hours later.
Central Michigan football coach Jim McElwain is retiring at the end of the season. McElwain will wrap up his 6th season with the Chippewas next week before ending his 40-year coaching career. McElwain is under NCAA investigation into Connor Stallions allegedly being on Central Michigan's sideline last year during the Michigan State game. Following his coaching career, McElwain will become a special assistant to the athletic director at CMU.
All right, so yeah, Jim McElwain retires all of a sudden. He's only 62 years old. That's not old in coaching at all. And kind of surprising, needless to say. Obviously, the big NCAA investigation, it's not good. It's a big freaking mess. That's all it is. And that's the first shoe to drop, which I was wondering when something was going to happen with Central Michigan. And when Connor was asked by the NCAA, he said he couldn't remember. Now, this is a guy that supposedly memorized 3,000 signals and signs, but he couldn't remember if he was wearing Central Michigan shirt, hat, all of that, special glasses that would let you record. He couldn't remember that, but he could remember 3,000 signs. Anyway, the situation with Michigan is this. They received the notice of allegations, which were extremely extensive. They involved coaches. They involved, of course, Connor Stallions, the sign stealing, all of that. And Michigan has 90 days to respond. Well, there's 2 days left of those 90 days. So there's going to be a response at some point in the next 48 hours or so. And we'll see what Michigan has to say about all that. Now, as you know, Jim Harbaugh, he hightailed it. He got the crap out of town.
Brave Sir Robin ran away. No! Bravely ran away. I didn't!
Yeah, they were going to hammer him with some big-time show cause, suspension, all that kind of stuff. And he took his defensive coordinator with him and some other folks. So he got out of Dodge. There's also a lot of talk that Connor Stallions may very well have helped out a team to help knock a couple of teams out of the 2022 college football playoff situation, which would have helped Michigan. And I've shown you a lot of that. This was in footballscoop.com. Says, moreover, a source with direct knowledge indicated to Football Scoop that Michigan may have attempted to assist the opposition of a potential college football playoff opponent in an effort to disrupt that team's potential path to the playoff. And of course, there was one team that would have been playing Tennessee and Clemson. Both Tennessee and Clemson only had one loss at the time, and there was only a couple of games left in the season. And Michigan was concerned if they lost to Ohio State, they would miss the playoff if Tennessee and or Clemson was sitting there with one loss as well, because Michigan's schedule was a joke. They only had a couple of tough games, one of which was Ohio State. Whereas Tennessee had a very difficult schedule, and Clemson had a decent schedule. So the one team that was playing both of them was South Carolina. So there's been a lot of talk that South Carolina may have received a little bit of help when it comes to signs and signals. If you'll remember, South Carolina was really struggling in 2022. They had scored 16 points against Missouri and Florida total in the 2 games previous that they had played those 2 teams. And then suddenly they scored 63 against Tennessee, 9 straight touchdowns, and then like 30-something against Clemson, and broke Clemson's streak of winning at home that was years long. So South Carolina all of a sudden became great. And then after that, they won 2 games out of the next 9. And they couldn't beat a top 50 team. But they beat 2 college playoff-bound teams in a row. And Clemson on the road. So obviously there was a lot of talk that Connor may very well have reached out or sent information through a third party, which is what he had talked about when he got interviewed about it, that's how he kind of did things. He even went so far as to send through a third party a couple years back information and signals to Ohio State because they needed Purdue knocked out. That's how much Connor Stallion was willing to do in order to take out a team that was in Michigan's way. So reaching out to South Carolina, to me, that would be pretty easy. Now, a lot of folks say, oh, that's just, rumors, speculation, and all that. And yeah, it had been reported in Football Scoop. But we do also know that the head of recruiting at South Carolina was let go. And that according to many reports, he committed serious violations, documents say. And in this article, it says the athletic department has determined that you have committed serious violations of NCAA legislation and your contractual obligations to the university sufficient to justify the termination. And that was from the athletic director's human resources manager, according to this report. And that individual had met with the athletic director. Now, here's what's interesting. After that guy was let go, the athletic director resigned at South Carolina 24 hours later, the day before ESPN showed up with Game Day. Now, he's taken another role at South Carolina. He won't be the AD anymore. He'll be like an advisor. And that was Ray Tanner, who's a great baseball coach. He won 2 national titles at South Carolina. And it would appear, this is my opinion, that he thought, I better get away from this. I've got a good reputation. I've won a couple of natties. I don't need to be getting tied up in all this crap. And he made it clear it wasn't anything to do with health or anything. So fortunately, that's a good thing. But it's really put a cloud over South Carolina. Are they being currently investigated over this? We don't know. There's been no follow-up on this at all. But it sounds like shoes are beginning to drop. I don't know if South Carolina is directly tied to Michigan or not. This is just what a lot of people think and what has been reported that could possibly be the case. But if not, I would think they're certainly being investigated by the NCAA over whatever this was. We still don't know what that is. And this has been since September. So there's been, a couple of months go by, and we still don't know. And I haven't seen a new report on it either. So it sounds like there's some stuff going on. I wouldn't be surprised if it was tied to the Michigan and sign stealing, but I don't know that for sure. It may be just a separate NCAA investigation involving something else. But it sure does smell, and it smells very funny to me. So again, it looks like shoes are beginning to drop pertaining to the Connor Stallion sign stealing. Michigan's going to come out in a couple of days with their response to the notice of allegations. We still don't know what's going on in South Carolina. They haven't put anything out. What were the violations? Why did Ray Tanner, the next day he resigns, the day before ESPN shows up? Give me a break. So there's just a lot going on with this. And until we get more information, we don't know. But things are starting to move and things are starting to happen. Maybe it'll come out. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me know continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit this little button right here. Help you get my videos. Won't cost you a dime. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube. Thanks, you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.